Hey guys, Boss and Ramos, and 56 to 19. It's rough. It's rough. More than likely the biggest loss the Miami Dolphins have suffered this entire season, and I don't even think it's even close. I think the one against the Bills was bad, but not as this bad. 48-20. Yeah, so this one is worse. So the Dolphins suffered their worst loss of the season while battling for the number one seed. I don't know if you know how to put two and two together, bad. You know, the math doesn't add up. And we're about to hop into these highlights. And I'll let you know right now, it's not a lot of Dolphins stuff. It's a lot of Ravens flocking all over the field. And yeah, Lamar just had himself a day. But I think we're getting to get started off with the Dolphins first, because unfortunately this is one of the only and brightest spots of the day. Cedric Wilson touchdown. He's hype. He's slamming the ball. He's like, let's go. It's just, man. So the Ravens were running this all day, kind of like pick plays. And if the Dolphins were in man, it was getting beat each and every time. And it was. A big grab by OBJ here. Gets his feet in bounds. And it leads to this Gus the freaking bus. All aboard! Gus the freaking bus getting into the end zone. We got multiple views of this touchdown. I mean, hey man, you get the ball down to the one and you give it to your big bell cow of a running back, and he gets you in the end zone for 6. How about Zay Flowers getting open here? Xavier Howard went down, and Eli Apple came in and missed his coverage. It's very unfortunate, and Zay Flowers, easy touchdown for 6. Isaiah Likely, huge grab here, and then has the audacity to get down the field and dive in the end zone for 6. And then this is Melvin Gordon, which honestly, if you told me before the game that Melvin Gordon was going to get a touchdown for the Ravens today, I would have told you you're lying. But it's not the case. But let's get into some stats here real quick. This is going to be a quick one. I know I want to get this out before you guys all celebrate New Year's, including myself. But let's talk about it. So team stats, we have first downs, Dolphins at 20, Ravens at 24. Let's see what else we got here. Penalties, Dolphins had 5 penalties for 37 yards. Ravens had 7 penalties for 45 yards. Early on in the game, the Ravens were getting heavily penalized and getting bad yardage out of it, and still made the most of it, which is something that you want and should see out of a number one team within a conference. So kudos to the Ravens. The Dolphins had 3 turnovers, the Ravens 1. And then time of possession, Dolphins had the ball for 29 minutes and 37 seconds. Ravens had the ball for 30 minutes and 23 seconds. Box score, let's get into some quick stats. We have Tua going 22 of 38, 237 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, sacked 3 times for a loss of 16 yards. Not a good day. Not a good day at all for him. Lamar Jackson, 18 of 21, very efficient day. 231 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, sacked once for a loss of 9 yards. Tyler Huntley even got in the mix. 1 pass for 19 yards and a touchdown. And then let's go to the rushing attack. Dolphins had 154 yards on the ground, which is really good given the circumstance, but all in all, just wasn't efficient, wasn't able to put points on the board. HN leading carrier, 14 carries, 107 yards, longest of 45. We have Jeff Wilson right behind him, and that tells you everything you need to know. Wide receivers being the second leading rusher. Third leading rusher is Tua with 14. I mean, just not a good day there. Sorry about that. To keep things moving, we have the Ravens, who had 160 total rushing yards, but at least their top 2 guys were running backs, and Gus Edwards with 16 carries, 68 yards, Justice Hill with 3 carries, 48 yards, and then Lamar Jackson 6 carries, 35 yards, Melvin Gordon 6 carries, 10 yards. So big day on the ground for the Baltimore Ravens. Receiving, Tyreek Hill was the leading receiver, and you can pretty much kiss 2,000 yards receiving on the season goodbye for Tyreek Hill. Missing the game and just having a couple bad games in between was definitely a killer in that. But currently, Tyreek Hill had 6 receptions, 76 total yards in this game. and a dropped touchdown. Not so good. Overall, Dolphins had 237 receiving yards, which is pretty good. But if you look at the Ravens, 340. So big receiving day by the Ravens. But yeah, Tyreek Hill had a drop touchdown in the end zone. Wasn't great. It was an incomplete pass. I wouldn't say it was a complete drop, but had it, bobbled it, couldn't get the feet in bounds, secured it out of bounds. So that's the order of events that goes on there. Keep him going. Durham Smythe was the second leading receiver, which some days is good, but today was not so great. 3 receptions for 54 total yards. Achan, 4 receptions for 30 yards and a touchdown. Cedric Wilson, 2 receptions for 27 yards and a touchdown. And then we'll go over to the Ravens. Zay Flowers, 3 receptions, 106 yards, 1 touchdown, longest of 75, which was his touchdown reception off of 3 targets. So 3 for 3 and 106 yards. So big day by Zay Flowers. On top of that, we have Justice Hill, 5 receptions, 64 yards, 1 touchdown. Rashad Bateman, 4 receptions, 54 yards. And Isaiah Likely, 2 receptions, 42 yards, longest of 35, which was that big touchdown you guys saw. Odell Beckham, 1 reception for 33 yards. So, 1 reception, and he makes a huge difference in this game. Fumbles. Mike White had a fumble, and it was lost and recovered by Trenton Simpson. And then we also have a Gus Edwards fumble that was recovered by Javon Holland. And then when we get into some defensive stats, the leading tackler for the Miami Dolphins was Deshaun Elliott. 10 total tackles, 7 solo, 1 tackle for a loss. David Long Jr. was next with 7 total, 5 solo. And then Duke Riley, 6 total, 5 solo. And then in terms of key stats, we have Bradley Chubb. Rest in peace for the season, because fearing that he tore his ACL, which is not so good. Bradley Chubb, 1 tackle for a loss, 1 QB hit. Zach Sealer, 1 sack, 1 tackle for a loss, 1 QB hit. Christian Wilkins, 1 tackle for a loss. Eli Apple, 1 pass deflection. And that's about it for the defensive stats. Typically this is littered with sacks, tackle for a loss, pass deflection, QB hits, etc. And today that's not the case. For the Baltimore Ravens, we have Geno Stone, 8 total tackles, 6 solo, 1 pass deflection. Roquan Smith, 7 total, 3 solo, 2 pass deflections. Patrick Queen had 2 tackles for a loss, a pass deflection. Arthur Mollett had a tackle for a loss and a pass deflection. Justin Madbaduke, I think I'm saying it wrong, but 1 sack, 1 tackle for a loss, 1 QB hit. Michael Pierce, 1 QB hit. Kyle Van Noy, 1 tackle for a loss, 1 QB hit, and a sack. Same thing for Odafe Owe. Same exact things. 1 tackle for a loss, 1 QB hit, 1 sack. And then last but not least, we have Jadeveon Clowney with 1 pass deflection. Oh my gosh. This construction stuff, not good for the boy. All right, we have 2 interceptions by the Baltimore Ravens. 1 by Roquan Smith, returned for 30 yards. And another returned by Geno Stone for 4 yards. Another one's coming. Ready for it? And it went away. We'll be back probably. 3 returns. Braxton Berrios, 3 returns for 74 total yards. Justice Hill, 2 returns for 101 yards. Punt returns. Trayvon Wallace had 1 return for 6 yards. In terms of kicking sets, Jason Sanders went 2 for 2 on field goals, longest of 38, 1 for 1 on extra points. Justin Tucker went 8 for 8 on extra points, so no field goals for him. Jake Bailey, 3 punts for 158 total yards. 1 was a touchback, 1 was in the 20, longest of 62. And then for the Baltimore Ravens, Jordan Stout had 2 punts, 71 total yards, and longest of 38. So, man, 19 to 56. It's awful. It's not good for the Dolphins, especially when you're playing for the number 1 seed. Put your best foot forward, and they didn't. And it sucks. It definitely hurts as a fan to see, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I would say the Dolphins did come into this game shorthanded, but at this point in the season, if you're not shorthanded, then, either you're blessed or, things are just going your way, and you should be miles and miles ahead with the number 1 seed, but that's not the case. But all in all, bad loss by the Miami Dolphins. As it stands right now, Baltimore Ravens secured the number 1 seed. They are 13-3 on the season, and no matter what happens next week, they will retain that number 1 seed. As far as it goes for the Miami Dolphins, they are 11-5, and right behind them is the 10-6 Buffalo Bills. And should Miami Dolphins lose to the Buffalo Bills next week, they will lose the division. Now, the playoff standings, Dolphins have secured a playoff spot no matter what. They're going to the playoffs. Now, it's a matter of fact of, are you going to be a wildcard team, or are you going to be a division winner hosting a playoff game? And Dolphin fans, you want, obviously, the Dolphins to win the division, host a playoff game. I know a lot of season ticket holders that really want to see a playoff game in Miami, myself included. But man, this is tough. Buffalo, escaping by a lot of these teams, and I think of a better, more healthy team of the Miami Dolphins will have a better shot at winning this division next week. But it's all in due time. We just have to wait and see. All in all, keys to victory was stopping the run, which didn't really do a great job at. 160 yards rushing. On top of that, they let Lamar Jackson beat him with the arm, which, that's how he's been winning a lot of these key games and separating himself from a lot of the competition. So 330 yards passing, 321 yards passing from Lamar is just huge by him. Really efficient day. He only had 3 incompletions, so really made the defense not look so good for the Dolphins. Offensively, 154 rushing yards isn't bad as a collective, but given that Devon Achane had to be the lead ball carrier and had 107 yards, it's not horrible, but it's not great, given the fashion of how the Dolphins lost. I wish they would have stuck to the running game a little bit more. I think they got a little bit too pass happy. 22 of 38 is just not an efficient day for Tua. Tyreek Hill didn't have the best day. He was targeted 12 times and only came down with 6 receptions, so that kind of tells you all you need to know about that. Just not a good day for the Fins. All in all, now are 11-5, 4-4 on the road. No more road games left, so 500 on the road. Big game coming up against the Buffalo Bills to decide the division. So I fully expect that to be possibly flexed out to the Sunday night game. I don't see any other games that will really entice someone to be like, oh, this is end all be all. Like, this seems either win the division or losing the division, or so and so is making a playoff, or this one doesn't make the playoff. Haven't really looked too deep into it, but why not? Why not would you want to see the Miami Dolphins versus Buffalo Bills primetime football last game of the week? So, last game of the season. So we'll see what happens. I think that's going to be the case. There's a part of me that hopes it is, and there's a part of me that doesn't. So let me know what you guys think about that down below. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.